It's been 6 months since the last basement gym update, so I thought it was about time for another one. As always, with these update videos, we're going to divide it into 6 sections. Must-have equipment, goal-specific equipment, in other words, equipment that could be must-have or could be unimportant depending on your specific goals, equipment that's probably too specific for most people. The equipment in this category isn't bad equipment, it's just equipment that's a little bit harder to recommend based on the price or the floor space requirements, the lack of versatility, or some combination of the three. DIY equipment, accessories, attachments, and miscellaneous stuff, and planned future updates. Spoiler alert, some of the cooler updates to the home gym are going to be later in the video, so make sure not to click off after we go through the must-have equipment category. And we are going to be moving through the equipment pretty quickly simply because there's a lot to cover and I don't want the video to take an hour. I do have individual reviews on almost every piece of equipment in this video, so if you want to check out any specific piece a little bit more in depth, you can check that out down in the description. But before we get into the video, hi, my name is Ryan Treadaway, founder of TreadawayTraining.com, where we turn skinny guys into jacked men. If you're interested in working with us to achieve your muscle growth and fat loss goals, click the first link down in the description. First up, must-have equipment. Depending on your specific goals, there are a couple of different paths that you could go down in terms of what is considered must-have. But for the typical person watching this video, it's probably going to be barbell, rack, and bench combination. The most important of those three being the bar, because that is your attachment, your connection point to the weight. So you want a good bar with good knurling, and the bar that we have is the Rep Deep Knurl Power Bar EX. This is the most aggressive bar that I have personally ever used, and I love it for that reason. If you're using it for heavy deadlifts, it will, shred your hands just a little bit. I personally don't mind this, and I love how grippy it is, but if you don't want one that's quite so aggressive, a good option would be the Rogue Ohio Power Bar. Next up is the rack, which would be the second most important thing, and we have the Rogue RML 3. And when it comes to selecting a rack, I'm not going to go in depth into all the different things to consider because, like I said, this would be a very long video, and I do have individual reviews on each of these things. But the one thing that I will say here is you definitely want a standard sized rack, and there's really two different standards that you can go with. Both of which are 3" by 3" uprights, and then you can have the option for 5/8 inch hardware or 1 inch hardware, and there's pros and cons to each of those, but you'll want to get one of those versus some companies have like proprietary, specific size to like 2 3/4 inch uprights or something crazy like that. So that way, when you buy into their rack system, anytime you want to buy, extra J-cups or safeties or any attachments, you have to buy their specific attachments. Whereas if you go with one of these more standard size, this is a Rogue rack, but we have some extra Rep J-cups, and we have Rep safety straps and things like that. So they're a little bit more open to adding different brands of attachments to the rack. In the bench category, we have 2 different benches because there are 4 of us that work out here, so having an extra bench is handy. We have the Rep AB 5100 with the optional leg attachment, and we also have the Rep FB 5000. And when it comes to adjustable benches versus flat benches, the one question that I always say you should ask yourself is, how much money am I willing to spend on a bench? If you're on more of a budget, we're talking $200 or less, you need to be looking at a flat bench, in my opinion, simply because with an adjustable bench, there's a lot more parts. There are moving parts, there's the main spine, there's a spine for the back pad, a spine for the seat, there's the little pop pins or the ladder, depending on how the adjustable bench you're looking at adjusts. And there's just a lot more going on, so they cost a lot more money. And if you're looking at a cheaper adjustable bench, the quality's just not gonna be there, and we're gonna be looking at a less stable, less durable bench. So if you have maybe $200 or so to spend, you would be looking at a much better flat bench, a much higher quality flat bench versus the same priced adjustable bench. When it comes to the weight plates are simply weight that hangs off the bar. You don't have to have anything fancy in terms of weight plates unless you do Olympic lifting or CrossFit or something like that and you need bumper plates. Just get the cheapest weight plates that you can find. We have a couple of different sets that you can see here. We had a local sporting goods store that had a special on 45s, 35s, 25s, a couple pairs of 10s, 5s, and 2.5s, and then also came with a bar for only, like, I don't know, $150 or $175 or something like that. And so that's why we also have those 2 extra beater bars and have 2 different sets of weights. And we eventually did need some more weights, so we did add on some rep, I think they're called old school iron plates. We got 3 pairs of those as well, just because we needed more weights. But if you can find cheap, weight plates that are used at your local sporting goods store or used online, go that route, save money, unless you specifically need special weight plates like bumper plates. The other of the 2 routes that I mentioned is the dumbbell route. I made a video explaining all the different dumbbell options you could go with and which option would be best for you based on your budget, goals, and floor space. We have fixed dumbbells from 2 pounds up to 70 pounds, which are my parents'. I have the Nuo bells, which I received for review a while back, that go up to 80 pounds each. I also have the Iron Master adjustable dumbbells, which was my first home gym purchase before my parents and I combined our home gyms. I have the base kit and the 2 expansions for the Iron Masters, so those go from 5 pounds to 165 pounds per dumbbell. So basically what we do is we use fixed dumbbells for 70 pounds and under, the Nuo bells for 75s and 80s, and the Iron Masters for 85 and up. Our setup is kind of weird because it's the product of us building up some home gym equipment separately, then combining it, and I received the Nuo bells for review. So our setup is a little weird, but I have seen many commenters who have fixed dumbbells for use up to 50 pounds each, and Iron Masters for 55s and heavier, which is a great option for balancing convenience and speed versus floor space and cost. We also have Olympic dumbbell handles, which just kind of sit in the corner and gather dust now, but they are an excellent option if you have a barbell and weight plate setup and you just want to be able to cheaply add your Olympic plates so that you can have dumbbell exercises in your routine as well. Next up is this guy right here, an adjustable plyo box. An adjustable plyo box is an amazing piece of equipment. It was actually in my top 5 favorite pieces of equipment in last week's video. And you can do all sorts of exercises with this thing. You can do step ups, box squats, bench dips, and all sorts of agility style exercises. Next up is one of the most ingenious workout inventions I've ever seen in my entire life, the monkey feet. If you have dumbbells or a barbell, you can simply hook the little bottom piece around the handle, strap this to your foot, and you can lift the weight with your feet. This is amazing, and I don't know how someone didn't think of this sooner. This allows you to do all sorts of exercises. You can do leg extensions, leg curls, standing leg curls, glute kickbacks, weighted reverse crunches, and all kinds of other stuff. The last piece of must-have equipment is either a resistance band set or some type of cable setup. With bands or cables, you can train any muscle in the body from any angle that you wish, so it's an incredibly versatile piece of equipment. The resistance bands specifically are very inexpensive. You can get a nice set of resistance bands for about 15 bucks, and they're portable. But the drawback to them is the fact that at the bottom of a resistance band movement, there's really no tension. And the further you stretch the band, the more tension there is, versus with the cable setup, it's a constant tension throughout the movement. But a cable setup isn't portable and costs a little bit more money. You could do an upgrade to the DIY setup that we recommended. That's probably one of the top 5 most viewed videos on this channel, and a lot of people have built that, and it's only about 50 bucks to make a cable setup yourself. Or if you really want to spend some money, you can upgrade to a functional trainer, which is very expensive and unnecessary, but if you have the money, is the best of the 3 options. For us, it was worth it because, as I mentioned, we have multiple people working out here, sometimes at the same time, so it's a lot more convenient to just be able to raise the cables up and down real quick, swap the weights out real quick by pulling a pin, and you're good to go. First up in the could-be must-have category is the Kensei EasyVest Max. I've reviewed the version 1 and version 2 here on the channel. I gave them both pretty glowing reviews. A weight vest is an extremely versatile piece of equipment. Your imagination is the limit with the amount of exercises that you can do with a weight vest. And these are particularly excellent because of the fact that you can just load them with Olympic weight plates that you already have, versus having to spend a bunch of money on a vest that has specially made weight plates that work with it. The only reason this isn't in the must-have category is because if you have a more built-out home gym already and you already have a lot of different equipment, this could be made obsolete in a lot of ways if you have specialty equipment that does a lot of the different functions that you could get out of a weight vest. Titan Safety Squat Bar, an excellent replacement for front squats if you have wrist or elbow pain. You can do good mornings with it, and my personal favorite use for it is actually to use it for calf raises so that I can load the calf raises and hold on to the rack without needing to hold on to the bar. Blaze pods. If you have agility or athletic goals, this is probably the coolest piece of equipment that you can possibly buy. These light up different colors, and then when you go through and tap them, it will activate or deactivate them. They go with a companion app, the Blaze Pod companion app, and there's all sorts of different drills that you can do with this. You can do any type of reaction type drills, decision making drills, just straight up speed and agility drills. And in my review that I did on these, I even used it to recreate a fun Dave and Buster game where you have to tap all the different lights as they light up. This is just so cool. You need to go watch the review that I did on these. The only reason why these aren't in the must-have category is because if you don't have agility or speed goals, then you're not gonna need these. Titan multi-grip pull-up bar. This is an excellent option to be able to do pull-ups with a bunch of different angles and different grip options, but it is a conditionally must-have piece of equipment because most squat racks, basically all squat racks, have a pull-up bar on them, and most of them nowadays, or some of them nowadays, do have a multi-grip option that is either included by default or can be added on. Next is the equipment that's a little bit harder to recommend, so we're gonna go through this a little bit more quickly. Treadmill. Big, expensive, you can do cardio without a treadmill. Bike. Not quite as big, not quite as expensive, but still pretty big and expensive, and you can do cardio without a bike. Curl bars. Anything that you can do with a curl bar, you can also do with a barbell. The only way that you need a curl bar is if it allows you to do certain exercises that would otherwise cause pain with a barbell. Inversion boots. They're about $100 and they only allow you to hang upside down for spinal decompression, maybe inverted abs, but not really enough to warrant the money. Functional trainer. It is one of the most versatile pieces of equipment on the entire planet, but it is very expensive, takes up a decent amount of floor space, and you can achieve most of what you can do with that with this $50 DIY cable setup. GHD. It's an excellent piece of equipment, but takes up a decent amount of floor space, and they can be pretty expensive. The first DIY piece of equipment is one that we actually already talked about in the must-have category, and that is our DIY high pulley, low pulley cable setup. This thing was pretty cheap to build. It's super smooth, and we still do use it even though we have the functional trainer. I use this thing for belt squats, for lat pull downs, or if I do an accessory exercise circuit that requires 3 cable exercises, I'll use both sides of the functional trainer and the DIY cable setup. And speaking of belt squats, we have our DIY belt squat machine, which allows you to do a few things. Of course, it allows you to do belt squats, but it also allows you to do marches, and then you could do some things that are a little bit creative if you want to do upright rows or something like that. And if you add a lat pull down bar, you can do seated calf raises with this thing, as well as bent over cable rows. And next to it, we have the newest addition to our DIY family, which is the DIY seal row bench. The first time I've ever upholstered anything, and it turned out pretty well. And I got the idea from Kaizen DIY, but I added my own little twist on things, which was to have the little face hole that you would see with a purpose-built seal row bench. Since the last update video, I also changed how we do the lat pull down seat. Instead of doing all the different plates and having the toe strap looped under it and all that kind of crazy mess, I realized that because the bench that we have is so heavy, we can simply put one 45-pound plate under it and then loop the strap under the seat and then tighten it down to the appropriate tightness. And so then in between sets, all you have to do is fasten it and unfasten it, and it's as quick as if you were doing an actual dedicated lat pull down machine. We have our DIY landmine setup. If you have a barbell and a tennis ball, then you have a landmine setup. And we have our single-sided Clever-built deadlift jack to keep the end of the bar off the ground to make it easier to load. And then over here we have our skateboard ramp DIY weight tree. And then we have our bumper plate storage table. Since the last update video, we added dividers to make it a little bit easier for the plates to stand up and not fall over. And instead of that plain old 2x4 that was on top, my parents decided that they wanted to add this a little bit nicer tabletop that they built themselves on top of it. And we also added this other toaster rack since the last update video to hold the rest of the bumper plates, whereas before they were just over there on the ground with a scrap piece of trim to keep them from rolling away. And the last DIY is our DIY calf raise platform. We built it to be dual purpose by reinforcing it horizontally on the inside so that not only could it be used for calf raises, but you could also place your feet on this vertical surface of the platform to use it as a platform for your feet for low cable rows. Going rapid fire through the attachments, accessories, and miscellaneous stuff: blood flow restriction bands, Ronin wraps for the budget option, Saga Fitness smart cuffs for the premium option, ankle straps, super cheap, very versatile, leg roller attachment for the squat rack, head harness. If you want to look bigger, train your neck. Rope handle, single D handle, double D handle, easy curl handle, lat pull bar, multi-grip lat pull bar, bench press block, ab wheel, landmine handle attachment accessory, Viking press handle, a chain, metal pegboard, and 2 3-bar shotgun style barbell racks. This isn't necessary, but I promise you having the things in your home gym more organized will make it feel mentally better when working out in your home gym. We also added the Treadaway Training banner on the wall behind the squat rack recently. I do wish I would have went with a black banner, but hey, we can always buy another one. A TV. You definitely don't need a TV in a home gym, but my parents upgraded their TV, so the old TV went down here. And the last thing that you might have already noticed is since the last update, we have expanded the gym in this direction. Previously, the gym ended right here, and we added 2 more rows of stall mats, adding an extra 8 foot by 18 feet to the home gym, which allowed us to spread the equipment out a lot more, making it feel a lot more spacious and a lot easier to work out, especially if multiple people are working out at the same time. And that leads into the future planned updates, the first of which is to expand it just a little bit more. We need to add one of these mats right here. We haven't done it yet because we're gonna have to cut around a little hole to go around this support post. And then we're gonna have a couple extra left over to extend it just a couple of mats in that direction to make the gym a little bit of an L shape. And that is probably gonna be the final form of the gym in terms of the square footage of the gym. We're probably not gonna expand it in terms of floor space anymore after that, simply because it is still a basement and we do still need place to store things. So we've pretty much hit the limit on how much we can take up for the gym. And on this new side of the gym, when we do get those mats and extend the gym out that way a little bit, we'll probably take this cardio equipment right here and shift it in that direction and have this little area right here next to all of the plates be a dedicated deadlift area. And we're going to eventually also put a leg press on this side of the gym. In literally every single basement gym update video that I've done, I've said that we're going to add a leg press in the future, and we haven't done it yet. It is going to happen. I promise you that. It's going to happen at some point. It's just a matter of, it keeps getting bumped down on the priority list because it's a very specific piece of equipment. It only allows you to do a few different things on it. It's a very large piece of equipment that takes up a lot of space. And it's a very expensive piece of equipment as well because you want to get a good one. If you're gonna spend the money to get one, you want to get a quality one. So it just keeps going lower on that priority list. It's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when it's gonna happen. And we do have all of these pieces from the all-in-one gym that we disassembled to make room for the functional trainer. We are going to utilize these extra pieces for DIY projects as we come up with new ideas. And the last thing on the list is another thing that I've said in multiple videos is gonna happen in the future and hasn't happened yet. And that is to rearrange and reorganize this little seating area. I don't really know how we're gonna do that or what that's gonna look like. If you are an expert in reorganization, shoot me a comment. Let me know your suggestions. And that's it for this basement gym update. If you want to check out reviews on any of these pieces of equipment or purchase any of this equipment, links for all that will be down in the description. If you want to work with Treadaway Training to reach your fat loss and muscle growth goals, also check down in the description. As always, God bless you and your family, and we'll see you next week. We also have Olympic. We also have Olympic dumbbell handles that just kind of sit in the corner and collect dust now.